Audio Renaissance presents Secrets of Great Rainmakers by Jeffrey J. Fox. Read for you by the author.
Introduction. Hello, I'm Jeffrey J. Fox. It is easy to become an ordinary salesperson. The barriers to entry for a sales job are, in many companies, very low. In some companies, the barriers to getting a sales job are so low, a Galapagos turtle can jump over them. In some companies, if you fog a mirror, you get the job. It is easy to become a salesperson. It is difficult to become a rainmaker. Becoming a rainmaker requires study, training, practice, and professionalism. A rainmaker is professional in all things, small and big. In companies that use salespeople to sell directly to customers, rainmakers are the people who bring in the business. Rainmakers bring in big revenues, big money. Rainmakers bring in new revenues, new customers. Rainmakers sell new applications, new products, and price increases. Rainmakers make the cash register ring. Ka-ching, ka-ching. And rainmakers make big money for themselves. Rainmakers are always the highest paid sellers, and it is not uncommon for rainmakers to be among the highest paid employees in the organization. Rainmakers are rare, but they are everywhere. They are in corporations as super sellers. They are commission-only salespeople, entrepreneurs, small business owners, solo practitioners, agents, brokers, partners in professional firms. The difference between rainmakers and ordinary salespeople is one thing: rainmakers sell more. Rainmakers generate more sales revenue than the other people. They sell more through thick and thin. They sell more in good economies and bad. They sell more regardless of competition. They sell more regardless of price. They sell more despite internal company problems. Rainmakers sell more by relentlessly doing things that ordinary salespeople sometimes do or never do. In a baseball game, a hitter or batter gets to the plate about 4 times a game. That means that the batter, barring a strikeout, and regardless of whether he gets a hit or not, has to run to first base 3 or 4 or 5 times a game. Even though running to first base 3 or 4 times a game is nothing, a small effort in the totality of the game, some players give up on their hit, assume they will make an out, and dog it to first. The rainmaker never dogs it to first base. The rainmaker never assumes he or she will be thrown out. The rainmaker runs out every hit and runs full tilt, because the few times the opposition fumbles the ball or the ball drops in, the rainmaker ends up safely on base. The rainmaker never quits in the sales cycle. The rainmaker always sprints, always goes for the sale. That's why rainmakers are known as big hitters. This book contains the secrets of great rainmakers. These secrets are why rainmakers sell more and make more money than the rest of the selling crowd. Do what they do and go make rain. Chapter 1. A Career Odyssey, from Rookie to Rainmaker. He was hired on a Friday. It was his first job out of college. On Monday he was selling. No sales training. Armed with product catalogs, brochures, and business cards, with scant direction, he was told to go down one side of the street and up the other, making cold calls. One day he made 100 calls. Rejection, up to 90% and 100% on some days, was a brutal fact of his early selling career. At the time, he did not know that cold calling is the least effective selling approach on the planet. Cold calling was what he was told to do, but all the rejection was a good thing. He learned not to fear rejection. Rejection is a sales reality. Weirdly, he began to enjoy rejection. Each rejection was an opportunity for him to think on his feet, to experiment with responses, to toughen his resilience. Despite his sales manager's exhortations to make more calls, he started to think. Cold selling was gambling. Rejection took many forms. The decision-maker was out, in a meeting, too busy, sees salespeople by appointment only, never heard of the salesperson, no solicitors allowed. He decided to improve the odds of making the sale. He focused on getting appointments via phone, note, or visit. Thus, the next sales call was not a cold call. His hit rate soared, and so did his career. Early on, he decided he was not going to be serious about sales. He was going to be fiercely serious. He took every opportunity to associate with successful salespeople, regardless of what they were selling. He schooled himself using books, audio tapes, and live professional sales training. Coincidentally, he read How to Become a Rainmaker. It is now his sales Bible. He wanted to become a rainmaker from the top of his hat to the toe of his shoe. The company assigned him to crack a big potential account that was dominated by another supplier. No one in his company had ever been invited to even make a proposal. He tried to penetrate the account according to his company's selling strategy. He stupidly repeated his company's prior experience. He was completely shut out. He considered handing the account to some other doomed soldier, but that was quitting. As with the cold call situation, he started to think and to study. A complete review of the sales database and all sales call notes pointed out the obvious. He, and all the salespeople before him, had done the same thing. They called on the same contacts, wrote the same letters, asked the same questions. What they were doing failed, but they did not change their approach. He looked into the metaphorical mirror and asked, what would a rainmaker do? Rainmakers are different from ordinary salespeople. They don't accept the rules for failure. Rainmakers adapt, change, take calculated risks. This rainmaker, the guy in the mirror, decided to do everything new at the account and to do nothing of the old. This rainmaker was going to make rain. He formulated a new selling strategy. This decision would ultimately change his life, financially and professionally. He knew he had to start selling to the top management of the customer. Everyone below top management had blown him off a number of times. Everyone says call on the C level, that is CEO, COO, CFO, CIO. Easily said. He had never before called at the C level. He was determined to do so, whatever the risk of offending the lower-level people on whom he had been calling. Besides, he had no business with the company, so he had nothing to lose. He locked himself in his office and researched everything about the company, its industry, its competitors, its customers, its website. He learned that the real but hidden decision-maker for the company was the chief financial officer. He tried to think like the CFO. But what did he know about running a multi-billion-dollar, multinational company? He had trouble paying his own bills on time. Nevertheless, he put himself in the CFO's shoes. CFOs are interested in financial matters, especially in reducing costs. Based on his research, he concluded that his company could save the CFO's company at least $50,000 per year in reduced day-to-day operating costs. His plan was to phone the CFO and to get a sales call appointment. He carefully planned that phone call. He had learned the CFO's direct number. The CFO answered on the first ring. The salesperson introduced himself, said his call would be only a minute or two, told the CFO that he was confident he could save the CFO's company $50,000, and asked if the customer had his appointment calendar handy. The CFO did, and they scheduled an appointment. The meeting with the CFO would be totally new and foreign, so the salesperson planned diligently. He brought one of his company's workflow analysts with him to the meeting. Products were never mentioned on that first call because the salesperson's questions were focused on what the customer would gain from his products, not on the technology or features and benefits of the products. He offered to conduct a cost savings discovery to identify all unnecessary processes and other waste. Although the salesperson now charges to conduct a similar discovery, in this case, he made the CFO an offer he could not refuse. The discovery would be free if no savings were found. The CFO assigned a person in his company to work with the salesperson and to help get the information to correctly identify problems and solutions. Suddenly, people who had previously ignored the salesperson or said no were working with him. It was powerful leverage to have the CFO's backing, but the salesperson wanted to make the person assigned to him a hero, an ally, a champion. The salesperson gained his champion's trust when the ally realized the seller's only goals were to save the company money and to give the ally all the credit. The two people became friendly, and they hit a cost discovery home run. They showed the CFO a plan to save $5,000 a month.